What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video too. We're going to be talking about the iPhone 6s and comparing it to the iPhone 7, seeing which one you should get, man. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, they don't want to go for the newest and most expensive phone. You know, for a lot of people, a 2 or 3 year old flagship, it can really work wonders for you, and it still works. Both of these phones, in my opinion, are still pretty good. There's really nothing that makes me not want to recommend either of these phones. Obviously, the iPhone 7 is better overall because it was released later, but in some cases, the iPhone 6s might be a better value for your dollar if you think about it. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's see which one you should get and seeing how much better the iPhone 7 is, whether it's even worth the extra money out there, whether you should just go save some money and get an iPhone 6s. But what I'll say is, if you own an iPhone 6s or an iPhone 7, both of these phones are still very, very good. Like I stated, the performance on the iPhone 7 is a little bit faster, but I would say that between these, I mean, if the iPhone 7 was like a 10 out of 10 phone, the iPhone 6s is like a 9 out of 10. Like, they're very, very close. In terms of the body, they look pretty much identical on the front. The iPhone 6s has a 4.7-inch screen, and so does the iPhone 7. Really, the main differences in terms of the front would probably be the front earpiece. The iPhone 7 does have an extra speaker up there, and it's a little bit extended. It's a little bit bigger than the iPhone 6s is. And another huge thing, and this is one thing that really blows out of my mind, it makes absolutely no sense. From the iPhone 6s to the iPhone 7, they actually made the home button on the front a capacitive vibration motor. So it's not an actual button. It is, but there's a vibration motor, so it doesn't click in. So if your phone's off, the button literally just feels like you're pressing on nothing. But what I'll tell you is that the thing that blows me out of my mind is that when they switched that over, they actually tethered the home button to the screen. So if you replace the screen yourself, you don't go through Apple, the home button on the front will actually not work because it's tethered to the screen. So before, if you replace the screen on an iPhone 6s, you would really have no problems. As long as the Touch ID matched the logic board, that's all that mattered. But with the iPhone 7, they actually went ahead and tethered the home button and Touch ID to the screen. So if you replace the screen yourself, the home button and Touch ID will not work. If you replace the glass itself, it might still work, but that's kind of a crazy thing. I replaced my iPhone 7 screen, and that actually stopped the home button to not work anymore. So, I mean, when we're talking about the repairability and everything of these phones, that's pretty important to note, especially if you're going to get it in the used market. They both have Touch ID too, though, so that's really good. No Face ID or anything, which, really doesn't matter. They both have Force Touch as well. Now, one huge thing you have to keep in mind is that with the iPhone 7, it does have IP67 dust and water resistance, but with the iPhone 6s, it also had a little bit of water resistance. It had some water sealing around the screen, but Apple never really flexed on anybody that it was an actual water resistant phone. So they just put it on there, and I guess it kind of helped out a little bit. So that's pretty cool, and that's really, really interesting as well. And that's pretty much the main differences from the outside. The back of the iPhone 7 looks a little bit different from the iPhone 6s. I kind of like how the iPhone 7's back looks, but it really doesn't matter. And I can't believe I forgot to mention this because I'm so used to it. The iPhone 6s does have a headphone jack on the bottom, where the iPhone 7 does not. So you do have more ports on the iPhone 6s. Me personally, I used to be in that category where I'm like, I cannot get a phone without a headphone jack, but I pretty much got used to it at this point. It's pretty much a learning factor. I mean, I don't think the headphone jack is coming back, so you might as well just get used to it, unless I do become Apple's new CEO. If you guys haven't seen that video, I forgot I even made that. Go check back a couple of videos. If I told you guys, if I become CEO, I'm bringing back the headphone jack 100%. Now, in terms of the software itself, on both of these phones, they're both running iOS 12 right now. I've extensively been thoroughly testing the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6s on both iOS versions, and they both seem pretty decent. I don't see anything inherently wrong. iOS 11 was just weird overall, but with iOS 12, I feel like I'm getting the same persistent bugs on all my devices, so I can't really necessarily blame one device over the other. It's more so just all devices are causing some problems here and there. But what I will tell you is that in terms of the longevity of these phones, the iPhone 6s will probably get iOS 13, and then it will stop there. So obviously it will get iOS 13, but I don't think it's going to go further than that. I think it's going to stop at iOS 13. Hope I'm wrong. I really hope it does continue on, but from a logistical standpoint, I don't think it is. Where the iPhone 7 is going to get all of iOS 13 and all of iOS 14 as well. Now, with both of these phones, some things could change. They could extend 1 year updates on one phone to the other, so I don't know how it's going to work. I do think between the iPhone 6s and the iPhone 7, one of these phones is going to get an extra extended year of support. I just kind of have a feeling, I don't know why, I can't really justify that at all, but that is a possibility, so keep that in mind if you're kind of looking forward to getting one of these phones. The longevity of the iPhone 7 is definitely better, but also the iPhone 6s, if you're planning on keeping a phone for a year and a half, the iPhone 6s will probably last you around that time. So that's definitely cool and super interesting as well. Now, in terms of the performance, I kind of hit on this early on in the video, but there's really like, you know what, I'm going to be honest, the difference in performance between these two is not that much, okay? I'm going to tell you the specs and then I'm going to tell you the real world usage. The iPhone 6s had an Apple A9 chip, a dual core CPU, and 2 gigs of RAM. The iPhone 7 has the Apple A10 Fusion chip, a quad core CPU, and 2 gigs of RAM as well. And pretty much when it's all said and done, the iPhone 7 might be a little bit faster. Obviously, it has to be faster because it's the newer iPhone, and I would be more surprised if it wasn't. But the thing that I see the most is like, I really don't notice that much of a difference going from one iPhone to the other. I'm sure if I did a side-by-side comparison, which I've done already, I'm sure on this channel sometime, even on iOS 12, I think I did one, I don't think there's that much of a difference. Like even with the iPhone 6s Plus and the iPhone 7 Plus, I didn't really see that much of a difference when I upgraded my main phones to that. I think the iPhone 6 to the 6s was a pretty big jump, but the iPhone 6s to the iPhone 7, I'm not saying the iPhone 7 is slow. The iPhone 7 is a fast phone, but I'm also saying the iPhone 6s is a pretty fast phone as well. And between both of them, I think the iPhone 6s definitely holds its own, but I'll just give the benefit of the doubt to the iPhone 7. Obviously, the iPhone 7 will be faster, but like I always state, if the iPhone 7 was like a 10 out of 10 in performance, the iPhone 6s was probably like a 9 out of 10, maybe like a 9.2 or something like that. Gaming, everything like that is going to be perfectly fine on both these devices. The one thing I might like more about the iPhone 7 is that front-facing speaker effect, because it is not necessarily like stereo sound, but because the front-facing earpiece is a speaker, you kind of have that stereo effect, which I like a lot. So that's super cool, and I actually enjoy that. So that's pretty much about the performance aspect of it. Now switching to the cameras, this is another interesting thing. They both have 12 megapixel sensors. They both can shoot 4K videos at 30 frames per second, and they both can shoot 1080p at up to 120 frames per second. One interesting and huge thing to note is that the iPhone 6s did not have optical image stabilization, where the iPhone 7 did. So the iPhone 7's photos will definitely look noticeably better here and there. I'm not going to say like the iPhone 7 camera blows the iPhone 6s out of the water. I think the iPhone 6s definitely can handle its own as well. And the reason it might seem like I'm just giving like so much praise to the iPhone 6s is because it is older, but Apple really did a good job at it, and they're not too expensive right now either. That's why I'm kind of, always recommending the iPhone 6s to people, even in terms of the camera. And I did a comparison kind of off topic between the iPhone 6s and iPhone 7 with the iPhone XR, and I found out, yes, the iPhone XR is better than both of these phones, but like I state, it's not like 100 times better. It's not even like twice as good. It's probably like 20% better, 30% better. And most of those things actually have to do with the features. So both of these phones don't even have portrait mode or studio lighting or anything. They don't have the telephoto lens, so you can't zoom in, twice as much as you could on like one of these phones. But what I'll tell you is that for an average user, if you're just some parent or like a constructor worker, I don't know why that was the first thing I thought of, you'll be perfectly fine with it. If you're just taking photos or whatever, obviously you probably won't even care. The photos these things take are not bad, but if I had to, I would probably still give the edge to the iPhone 7, obviously, because not only is it a newer sensor, but also because it does have optical image stabilization, so that's pretty important. There was a little bit of a difference between the front cameras as well. The iPhone 6s has a 5 megapixel sensor, the iPhone 7 has a 7 megapixel sensor. So again, you're probably going to be getting better photos and stuff through the iPhone 7s, but I don't think there's a humongous like day and night difference here. It's definitely better on the iPhone 7, but all said and done, if the iPhone 7 was a 10 out of 10, the iPhone 6s was a 9 out of 10. I think that's the trend of this whole entire video. Now, another interesting thing is battery life between both these phones. So the iPhone 6s had a 1715 mAh battery, the iPhone 7 had a 1960 mAh battery, and in my opinion, I do think the iPhone 7 has better battery life than the iPhone 6s, and the main reason behind that is probably because of the little bit of a bigger size battery it has. I don't know why we're in this trend of manufacturers constantly like making the batteries smaller here and smaller there. Like they should just have an upward trend of battery size and battery life, but they're doing such weird things now, I don't get it. And the iPhone 6s was kind of notorious of having a lot of battery problems. In my opinion, it's kind of justifiable here and there. But honestly, between them, I would still probably give the edge to the iPhone 7 because of the bigger size battery. Now, some other notable things to note, like I stated, the iPhone 7 is IP67 dust and water resistant. So definitely in terms of that, that's a pretty big thing. Like I stated also, the repairability of the iPhone 6s is a lot better than the repairability of the iPhone 7. So if you crack your screen or if you, break your whatever, it's going to be a little bit harder to repair on the iPhone 7. However, if you get like a new camera or something like that, obviously those type of things will be the same on both. But I'm talking more so of the screen. The screen itself is where most of the problems lie. And that's why I'm always kind of hesitant to recommend that to people if they're getting one with like a cracked screen. Now you can still get them replaced by Apple, no doubt, but still I wouldn't plan on, getting a broken iPhone 7 to fix it up, just because you're going to end up breaking something else with the screen. So no headphone jack on the iPhone 7 either. No wireless charging on both of these phones. And to kind of wrap this video up, I kind of want to give you a trend of the pricing between these phones. iPhone. So I noticed that with most iPhones, the prices have actually gone down about $50 since last year. So if you're looking at an iPhone 6s, you're probably going to spend somewhere around the $130 to $150 range for the base model. But with the iPhone 7, you're still going to be spending a little bit over $200 to $210 in that price range for the base models. Now the base model for the 6s is 16 gigs. The base model for the iPhone 7 is 32 gigs. So a little bit of difference there. Now you can easily get one for less than that, and sometimes you might find some that are even over than that. So what I'll tell you is that between both of them, if you have the money, I would say just go for the iPhone 7. It's going to last you longer in the long run. But with the iPhone 6s, man, it's such a competitive bargain. Like for $100 and something, you can get a very capable phone and still like ball out and everything. So what I'll tell you is that if you want the cheapest models of both of these, go on eBay, go on Craigslist. Those are where you're going to find the cheapest used prices. Like I said, the iPhone 7 would probably be my first choice, but the iPhone 6s is not too far behind either. However, if you actually want to go and get them certified refurbished, which I would always recommend, not only do you get them much easier, you don't have to call people and text people, all that stuff, but they also usually come with a warranty, and they're straight through Amazon. They're on Amazon's website. So I'll leave some links to the cheapest ones I find for the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6s on Amazon. I'll put them straight in the link below. And actually, for every sale that happens and everything you buy through those links, a little bit of percentage comes back to the channel, and we actually are able to make more videos and do more giveaways and things like that with that revenue. So if you ever want to buy a phone, or if you want to buy anything at all, just purchase it through those links so it can actually come back to the channel and it doesn't cost you any extra money. So that's pretty much it, man. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that don't mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it don't mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.